reading out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vance, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a new river thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark, feel the bite. Rick's in the zone, every day, every night, from the Hokies to the Highlanders. He's got the spark, Big dog sports talk, lighten up the dark. He's got the scoop, faster than a sprint. Calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play-by-play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark, feel the bite.
Good morning. It is the Hump-Day edition of the program. There you go. The camel says all. Hope you're well, wherever you might be. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat room, or in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room, or on the professional door text line. We got big stuff lined up today. We are trying to get connected here with Brian White. It's not allowing him into the system right now. Good morning, Chris. How are you? Good morning, Stephen. Trying to get things done again here. There we go. Send another invite. So, yeah, I can't take a phone call when I'm on the air here. Anyway, hope you're well today. Let me go back and stop this. Sorry, we're having some connectivity problems here. Let me get rid of the camel too. Of course, you probably would rather see the camel than me, but there we go. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Anyway, we're trying to figure out what's going on with Ron White's connection. He is the author of the book, The Locker Room is Not for Sale. So don't know if that's going to work. Don't know what happened there. I know it's not on our end. So anyway, from rags to riches, Marty has fallen headfirst into the ESPN pile. This Giles County transplant here in Palm Coast is real proud of Coach Rags and Marty. BDST is live. How was your round, by the way, Morris? Yeah, Marty and Rags coming up in hour number 2. And Mike Burnup in the 3rd hour. And Keon Brown coming up as well. We got a lot going on. Hit us up on the Family Fencing Studios. I got to let a kitty in, though. Hang on. So it's been a chaotic morning already. I don't think it's going to work out. I hope it works out with Brian. Anyway, call Family Fencing, 540-200-8294, familyfencing.nrv.com. We mentioned Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic, 155 Walters Drive, Northwest. Appreciate him. Professional Incorporated, right across from the New River Community College, 38 years, residential, commercial garage doors. Sponsor of our text line, 540-391-0788. I believe Friday we're going to speak with Tim Miller. They had a big announcement. I don't want to share the announcement until they make the release, but it's really cool. Another big announcement following up the IHRA. So hopefully Tim at 7 o'clock on Friday. They're the presenting sponsor of the program. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. BDST Fan Question of the Week, brought to you by the attorney Ryan Price, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. National Bank, member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner, BDST here on YouTube. Ready, Set, Fund, readysetfund.com, by the way. If you want to raise some money, hit Bob Christ up, CRIST11, bobchrist11 at Gmail, and check out their website, readysetfund.com. Thanks to Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, the NRV Super Bowl, and Brandon at Top Shelf Apparel. Hope everybody's doing all right, wherever you might be. Yeah, it is the dreaded hump day. It is. It is. Really, really is. So, not sure what's going on with Brian, but he tried to connect, but it was saying that his mic and camera wasn't working. So he might just go ahead and invite Coach Elmo on here. He was going to come on with Brian. And I have to explain to Coach Elmo what was going on here. But it doesn't look like it's going to work out. He's trying to text me now. He tried to call, but I'm here live, so I can't really take a phone call. All right. Not going to work. Not going to work. But we have, by the way, we're at 800 subscribers as of right now. It's awesome. So I don't think it's going to work out with Brian. Says he can't get his camera on. Okay, well, we've gone through this before. That's okay. That's okay. Best laid plans, and it happens. It happens. But we'll get Coach Elmo on here in a second. Keon, Marty and Rags, and then Mike Burnett. Big game tonight for Tech Hoops. It's a must-win. I don't think there's any two ways about it. They're already on the outside looking in of the tournament. A loss tonight would probably put them even further back to where it would be very, very difficult for them to rise the crest. And the Super Bowl was down 10 million viewers. How about that? We'll get into that too at some point. So, yeah. No, it doesn't for me. As a matter of fact, the real numbers are out, and the NFL is obviously lying because that's what they wanted to do to back up what they decided to do. Correct. But the numbers are way down, way down. And it's glorious to see a little bit of pushback from what they tried to feed us. But all the metrics are in. I don't know why the NFL thinks that people are at, and there will be people who look at that and they're going to say, hey, 100%. But the data is in from Nielsen, and everything fell off. The league released some lie that said they were up second all-time most watched, and none of it's true. But they lost 10 million viewers from the halftime show on. So there you go. There you go. But we'll get into all that. There's Coach Elmo. How are you?
Good. Good morning.
Morning, man. What's up? You doing good? Good.
You think that Harvard education would apply itself where he can get on your show? Hell, I'm
a little surprised. Oh, wait a minute. I think he's down here now. Hang on. We may have him now. Hey, there he is.
Hey, B. White. Listen, I had a mechanical bypass, for God's sakes. I got on this show. Hey, I'm going to let you two guys go.
No.
Be back in later on.
Okay, I'll send you another invite, Coach, here in just a second.
Cool. Sounds good. Hey, good luck, buddy. You're the best. Miss you.
All right. What's up, Ron?
Not much. How you doing, man?
Doing all right, man. Hey, look, I know. Look, I understand. I get it. These camera things, it took me a long time to convince myself to go through this format, so I get it. How are you?
I'm doing great. Other than I just like blew a gasket trying to figure out how to get my computer camera. So I'm on my phone. So I hope it works.
No, it looks great, man. It looks great. Well, listen, let's get into the book. I think this is really cool. What Coach Elmo, there you go. The locker room is not for sale. Take us through what motivated you to start thinking about it and exactly what it means to people. I know a lot of our viewers will completely understand the vibe of the locker room is not for sale.
Yeah, well, it's so timely in today's NIL world where locker rooms are so transactional. But honestly, it wasn't written for that purpose. It was written. I grew up in a locker room. My dad was a high school football coach. I grew up in a locker room. I learned when to celebrate. I learned when to console. I learned when to keep my mouth shut before a game when people were nervous. I learned when to pull pranks during training camp. I learned all those valuable and invaluable things from the locker room. And those lessons allowed me to be a successful person. I believe that in my heart of hearts. So forward that to my career. I was coaching at Wisconsin, and I had a Wall Street buddy of mine that wanted to bring 10 clients to the Rose Bowl, and I said, no problem, I'll get you the tickets. And then he said, how about 2 sideline passes? And I said, no problem, I'll get you 2 sideline passes. He said, how about if you win the game that I can bring the clients in to experience the celebration in the locker room? And that's when I said, absolutely not, because the locker room is sacred space. And it's for the players and the coaches, particularly the players who poured all their sweat equity into that team, into building that team, into being a selfless football team that is bigger than them. And so you can't compromise the locker room. You cannot compromise it. And everyone thinks in this NIL world that they got to go buy a championship. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen unless your locker room is founded on really transformational values like respect, trust, love, commitment. In the book, you'll see that the locker room has 4 walls: trust, love, and commitment. But the floor of the locker room is brotherhood.
Right.
The floor of the locker room is brotherhood. That's the whole key. That's what we're standing on. That brotherhood.
Now, you're at Bowling Green right now, and I mentioned this with Coach Elmo the other day about that particular topic, the locker room, and how it's affected because of, the pay for play and guys coming in, many of them as mercenaries. How much more difficult is that for you and your staff, Coach and head coach? How is it you guys adjusting to that to make sure the locker room still has that same vibe?
Well, you just have to. It's not easy to answer your question. It's not easy because there's such a disparity in all locker rooms with money, and I don't care what anyone says. There's jealousy that comes with it,
Yeah.
and that's so to keep that from fracturing your football team. Those players that are getting paid the big bucks, so to speak, they have to be really special people. They have to be really special people in the locker room, and they have to be very generous and giving of their time and truly understand how important they are to building the team, so that they're not elevated way above the team. And that is not an easy thing to handle as a coach. But you have to meet it head on.
Yeah, I can only imagine that the jealousy part's something I was always wondering when all this kicked in and certain positions were going to be paid more than other positions, how this was going to work, and to see and to hear coaches talk about that, it is as difficult as you may have said, right? It's coming to fruition, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's a mess. It really is. I mean, and in my opinion, it's because of a lack of discipline and no guardrails by the NCAA and coaches. The discipline of hey, I'm all for NIL. Trust me, I'm as red-blooded American as there is, man. We live in a country where freedom is you should have the freedom to go to schools and pick jobs whenever you want to. You should be able to do whatever you want whenever you want to do it. That's the United States of America. That's freedom. That's one of the principles, bedrock principles that we've been built on. But there have to be some guardrails put on this because it's just out of control.
Well, let's talk about what it is working with the Eddie George. What does that mean? How has that gone for you? And how is he settling in now in the coaching era?
He's an unbelievable human being. He's a true gentleman, and he's an amazing person. He's a great motivator. He's all into culture and building. He's all into the locker room. He understands the importance of the locker room and how critical that is to building a big time football team that will stand on lasting principles. And that's the most important thing. I mean, that building a transformational locker room instead of a transactional one. That's what Coach George is all about. So it's been a blast working with him and for him, and can't say enough good things about him.
Well, let's talk about Coach Elmo, your relationship with him. And you told me a great story about him already, but how is that kind of, you guys been able to keep that going over the years, and how often do you guys communicate and so forth? Well,
first of all, Phil Elmassian is one of the best football coaches that has ever coached college football. And his development of players is second to none. If you follow his career from all the great places he's been to, where Phil Elmassian is, his players are going to be excellent, fundamental football players. They're going to be tough, and no one is more unforgettable than Phil Elmassian, as you know. I mean, you meet him once, you're going to remember Phil Elmassian. And we coached together at Wisconsin for 3 years. And they were magical years. We recruited a lot together. We had some great times on the recruiting trails, and we were part of 2 Rose Bowl championships. And he's a fun guy. He's an unbelievable hard worker. And you want him on your team. I can tell you that. You want Phil Elmassian in the trenches with you when the game's on the line.
Well, and that's, all the places that he's gone and how valued that he has been to all these programs. It just goes to show you exactly like currently now, at UAB, Todd Grantham wanted him to come and help evaluate some guys. You never lose that as a coach. And we're going to get him back on here in just a second. So we'll talk about all these things. But, yeah, I marvel at, what he did here in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech, what he did with Coach Saban, wherever he's been, Wisconsin. I mean, you name it. Wherever he's gone, he's immediately made the defense better. And it's a no-nonsense approach. It's if you will, an old school approach. And you know what? We could use a little old school right now.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you an interesting story because it ties into the book. Phil Elmassian is old school. Yes, absolutely. Old school, tough, gruff. But let me tell you something. The book is about the human touch too. The book says the locker room's not for sale, but why the human touch always wins. The human touch always wins. And Phil Elmassian has the human touch. He had his players over for dinner all the time. There's a story in the book about this coach named Joe Moore from Notre Dame, who I was a GA for. And within 1 week, he said, "Do you want to be a great coach someday?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Feed him. Feed him. If you feed him, you can coach him hard." Well, Phil Elmassian understood that. He had recruits over to his house for dinner on recruiting weekends. He cooked. It wasn't like, I'm going to bring in some fancy caterer. No, I'm going to cook because he's got the human touch. And that's what the whole book's about. And is that old school? Yeah, that's old school. But you know what? That's what people respond to. They respond to the human touch. So now you can coach them hard, and you can. I mean, if you've ever been to a Phil Elmassian practice, holy cow! I mean, you're like, but those players love him because they know he loves them.
Yeah, that's right. It's sincere, and I think that's a great point. Players want to be coached, and they want to be coached by real guys, right? They don't want to be it's told certain things to keep them motivated. I think players know the difference for real, don't they?
No doubt. And one of my favorite lines in the book, one of the players that I coached at Bowling Green's name is Jason Patterson. Well, his uncle is Jerry Patterson, and he goes by Uncle Real. And Uncle Real 305 is his name because he's from Miami. He had some tough times running the streets of Miami for a while when he was a young kid, and he finally got out of the streets and he built a car detailing business, and he started to talk to his nephews and nieces, the next generation, about living a great life and not having to run the streets. And he said to me one day, he goes, "You know what, B. White? You know what I like about you? You're a real dude." He said, "Real is real, real is rare, and real has no color. Real is real, real is rare, and real has no color." And that's really so true. And that's what the locker room exposes, the frauds of the world. When you're in the locker room, you're exposed really fast if you're not real and authentic.
That's exactly right.
And the locker room is all about authenticity and being real. And as Uncle Real 305 says, I majored in realism. I didn't major in history. I didn't major in pre-med or anything. I majored in the streets, realism, and I can teach realism to anyone in the world.
Well, and something we've learned too from all the guests we've had on, whether they're former players or coaches, the locker room is a great vibe to know too when players are in positions that they shouldn't be in, right? Like if somebody's playing that shouldn't be playing over somebody else because of the money they're making or because of favoritism, the locker room sorts that out pretty easily too, don't they?
Well, they do, because the locker room's the most meritocratic place in the world.
It is.
Coaches, very rarely do we make mistakes on personality. We do where we think someone's better than someone else. We make that mistake, but the markets are efficient and they make you right. And you're going to play the best players, because if you don't, you get fired in our business.
Right.
You get fired. So it's not Johnny's my favorite guy because his mom made me dinner and cooked some nice cookies for me. No, it doesn't work like that. We got to win. I tell my players before every season, I said, you know what the best part of being a coach is? I don't care who plays. You guys determine who plays. You make those decisions. All I do is watch and I evaluate. But I don't care who plays. I don't care if white, yellow, green. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care if what your religious affiliation is, Catholic, Muslim, Christian. It doesn't matter to me. The most consistent, reliable, accountable players are going to play in the game. And that's what makes the locker room awesome.
Do you feel like because of the money so far, have you noticed, are guys less motivated to be part of that and for what winning is all about? Or I guess it's individual choice, but how many guys have you seen come through, just a rough guess, that have just been percentage-wise there for the bag or there to come and see what they can get and not really buying into the team vibe?
Yeah. You know what? It's probably a little different at Bowling Green because we're not dealing with the major money issues that a lot of these schools are, but it's still very evident that it's part of the locker room, and it's going to continue to be part of it, and you're going to have to deal with those egos, and what happens is if you start paying the wrong people, then the teammates are going to get really pissed.
Yeah, right. You
know,
100%.
And rightfully so. Like, I'm not getting paid. This guy's getting paid for what? What's he done? Well,
let's talk more about the book, where people can find it, Brian. And I know it's doing very well here right off the bat, isn't it?
It's doing very well. It's been number one on Kindle as a new release, number one on Amazon, and business mentoring and coaching, a bunch of different categories. And it's interesting because Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl championship, and his book was number 5. And Kirk Cinetti just won a national championship. His book was just number 7. Ours was number 1. And I say ours because it has been a team. It's been the locker room that's catapulted this book up to the top ranks, because the former players are galvanized, former coaches are galvanized, friends, family, everybody's galvanized in the same direction because they believe in the book, they believe in the locker room, and it's really been cool to be a part of this. And we just hope we can keep the momentum going and spread the message that Amazon, you can get it on Amazon right now, and just click on Amazon Books, and you'll find it really fast. And it's really been a fun experience, and we just want to keep this Big Mo going. And there's a lot of great stories in there about former players that I've coached, and there's stories about capturing the moment, chapters on capturing the moment. What does that mean? It's being ready and prepared. There's a champion's profile that I think people will really appreciate. There's a chapter on dreams, dream, plan, activate, achieve. But ultimately it comes down to the human touch. And it's a term that we're bringing into the world. It's called Diana Rossing. And what does that mean? Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. That's the whole goal. That's the message. So let's all Diana Ross it a little bit, and just be good people that go out there and make the world a little bit better.
All right, let's bring Coach Elmo back one more time here before we say so long, before we get Keon on. Coach, you want to say something to Brian here as we head out?
And just want to congratulate him. I admire him. They told me to write a book. I said, hell, are you kidding me? There's so much profanity laced. It'd be rated R.
You're the best, Elms.
Oh, no, I'm so proud of you. Brian brought up a great point. One thing that we both understood this, and especially in a place like Wisconsin, where we're not beating Ohio State and Michigan for a kid. We have 3 of our 4 captains were walk-ons in the Rose Bowl, 3 out of our 4. And the one thing that those players were so grounded, came from all different backgrounds. We had players, moms and dads, especially in Wisconsin, alcoholic problems. Probably the biggest problem we had with some of those parents is just because, when it's so damn cold, you got nothing to do but drink. But those players were so grounded that they knew if you played a player that was not good enough, but for whatever reasons, they were All-Americans, they were 5 stars, now they're getting paid, you will lose trust so fast. You want to crash and burn, losing trust, just play people that players know is a horse's ass off the field and doesn't give the efforts on the field. Just do that, and you immediately get your resume out because you're gone. And now the quickest way to earn trust And they knew this. When you recruit a good player, you bring a good kid to the campus, they're excited. When you get them on the field, and if you got a kid we had Jason Doring beat out our start, and one safety beat out another safety. The kid understood it. He was better. He was more productive. He understood it. And the kid ended up having enough persistence, stick with it, that he ended up starting his senior year, Bobby Myers, B. White, and he ended up going to the NFL. And so kids know. They know. If they really know. And trust is either crashed and burned or earned by, number one, I always believe, of who you decide to play, your decisions that you make.
And then, Elms, what I think is important is when you're in these great programs, the older guys teach the younger guys what it takes to be a Badger, a Falcon, or whatever. And that's when you have a great locker room. That's when if the coaches are doing all the teaching in the locker room, it's not worth a flip.
No. Doesn't work that way.
No.
Doesn't work that way. Barry, I think Barry, because of the consistency we had there, because being a good year, having a good year, that's not as difficult as, okay, can you do it the next year? Can you do it the next year? When you look at coaches and define what makes great coaching, it's the consistency of their winning throughout the years, because Brian's right. The number one way that's done, it's being passed down by the people that have been in your program the longest, and the players end up running the program when it's all said and done. Now, it's probably harder today just because all of a sudden, I don't know how many you're bringing in, but I would think the average, you tell me, 15 to 25 maybe 25 to 30 brand new kids every year in the locker room.
Oh, more than that now. I mean, right now, because of the portal, most teams in the Sun Belt and in the MAC, the group of 5 schools are probably turning over 30 to 40 and sometimes even 50 and 60 players a year, because we're getting cherry picked, and we lost 14 guys to Power 4 schools this year. 14 guys.
Jesus.
So to Power 4 schools, and the number one draft pick from Texas A&M, Cassius Howell, was the kid that played at Bowling Green. He's going to be a number one pick this year. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, there's the good news, bad news. The bad news, you lost him, but the good news, you still got it, B. White.
You still got it. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey guys, why don't we reconvene in a couple of weeks? I'd like to have more time, like a whole hour, to go just have you both on, talk more about the book and your experience. Can we do that?
Love to, and I'll get my computer right.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what, that damn Harvard education.
We beat Harvard. Yay!
You should have gone to William and Mary, baby.
That's
Look,
right.
I figured this crap out.
Yeah, I know. Harvard's way overrated. Anyone who knows me would tell you it's way overrated.
That's right.
Oh, trust me. Hey, B. White, you took it to a whole nother. That's like me with my degree. I kept telling people I'm the best C student they've ever had. That includes Washington and Jefferson and Monroe.
Just remember this, Elms. Just remember this. William and Mary is the second school in this country. Harvard was number one.
Harvard was one. That's right.
Harvard was one. Right. And William and Mary, but let's that's a great honor too. Number 2 school in America.
Hey,
we got the 2 oldest schools represented.
Been on the second bus my whole life, B. White. Never been an 18. You know me. I always wanted to go to Harvard.
Brian, great to meet you, man. And we'll plug your book and we'll get you back on to talk more about it here in a couple of weeks.
All right, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you, man. Awesome. Good stuff, guys. As always. Yeah, we'll get them both back on here. That'll be great. We'll do that. Brian's great, and people really like what he had to say there. I got to get into more of what he was talking about with losing so many players, cherry picking programs like Bowling Green. I think that'd be very interesting for you, our viewers. I really do. We had an issue in chat, by the way. So TLB, if you're watching, I don't know what happened. See if you can log back in as another user. It was showing me that you were banned from chatting, and I don't know why. I don't have time to get in there and do it right now. So TLB, if you're watching, I don't know what happened. See if you can maybe sign up as a different user and get back in. I can look at it when I'm off and I'm not tearing the show up, but I don't really know what happened there. I really don't. But whatever it was, it sucks. It really sucks. And now I got something popping up for no reason. All right, here we go. Joining us now on the program, there he is. He's our basketball correspondent, Keon Brown. What's up, KB?
Rick, what's up, buddy? I love that last segment with Brian, man.
There we go.
I got you. You got me?
Yeah, that's going to be good. I want to have him on more. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I want to get him on more when he can talk more about being cherry-picked. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that'll let people know about what's going on.
Yeah, one thing he said that was true. He said, you want to be a good coach, you got to feed them. He's not lying. Feed your players and let those guys have that fellowship amongst each other at your house while you're cooking authentic food is nothing like it. They'll remember that for the rest of their lives. I know I do. I used to love when Coach Jones used to invite us to his house. His wife will cook, Mama Jones, and have all of us over there, including the coaching staff. And we learned so much about each other that you never thought you'd talk about in the locker room or, on the road. It's just so much time to be together. We probably be there for about 4 or 5 hours, and it's just learning one another. There's nothing like it. So he was spot on with that.
What's more, okay, from a basketball perspective, is it the locker room more sacred, or is it the circle at the beginning and end of practice? Because I know how seriously coaches, the circle is a huge deal.
Well, it's the locker room for sure, because you're talking about stuff that has nothing to do with basketball. Like, for instance, I give you a real life example. When I found out that I was having a son my freshman year, we talked about that in the locker room. We ain't talking about that in the circle, right? Because I could say things to my teammates that I couldn't say to my coaches and be raw and authentic as I wanted to be. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's interesting. The locker room is just the thing. Doesn't matter about the sport.
And I'm not saying you wouldn't say some things to coaches, because I certainly would. But at Dedman Center, it's an open floor. Somebody could be at the top and look down on practice here. Everything you're talking about that shouldn't be in the circle and hear what we're talking about. That's another thing where my mind goes when you ask that question as well.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It was always an honor to be invited into the circle.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
All right. Speaking of the circle, Virginia Tech's got to circle the wagons. They got this could be the knockout game for them tonight now.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Clemson on the road. Talk about Tech. They didn't show up against NC State. It makes them look even worse. And NC State lost by 41 in their last game. It's Louisville. What's wrong with the Hokies other than they're injured and they don't have a full allotment, but they're not – right now they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's not good. But a Clemson win could change a lot. And Clemson is so good. Again, and Coach Brownell's just had a great program the last few years, and now they're in a position where they're in the tournament. They could win some games, and how do they do it? They do it with excellent physical defense, but they also have a roster of players where it's going to be tricky for Virginia Tech because you can't key in on one guy. They have a roster of about 8 guys who can get it done. I think so far this year, they've had 8 or 9 guys lead them in scoring in a game. That just shows you how versatile they are. So if you're Virginia Tech, you got to bring your defense. Defense has to travel. You're playing one of the best teams in the ACC. And now you have to play desperation basketball for the rest of the season because every game counts double. So you still have to go and play at Duke, I believe, or at North Carolina. You got to win that one. You got to beat Clemson. You have to put yourself in position to be in the tournament because right now you are, like you said, you're outside looking in, and it's not good right now. It's not.
Take us inside in your best estimation.
Yeah.
What Avadalis is going through. He's not playing well. I know he shot better against the Wolfpack, but he had 5 turnovers. He got paid a lot of money. What kind of things right now do you believe are common that he's fighting through? As a guy who came in with all the hype, I know he has a massive ego about it, but still he's not playing well, and he hasn't played well in over a month.
Yeah, you got to stick with it. But I wonder if that's got anything. He's a foreign guy, so I wonder if he's a little bit homesick, if that's a thing for him. I don't know, because being a first-year college basketball player, that stuff plays on you. And since he's so far away from home, can he relate? What's his mental? What's his psyche right now? And if he doesn't play well, Virginia Tech is just not going to win. The game earlier this season against Providence, when he had his best game, that was the guy that people thought that they were going to see at a consistent clip. But it hasn't been a performance like that since then. You know it's there, but now you got to question if it's consistent. Right now it's not. But if he can somehow manage to get to that, then Virginia Tech becomes that dangerous team that everybody thought that they'd be. At the same time, that player that we saw versus Providence is the reason why so many people thought that Virginia Tech would be so good before the season, because they thought he'd be that player all season long, and he hasn't been. So at the end of the day, you can talk about the injuries, but you also have to talk about your star player, whether he's a freshman or not, being the guy who can take you to the promised land, which is for Virginia Tech is just the NCAA tournament. He's got the talent to do it. Can he be consistent? So far, the answer is no. There's still some basketball left. Who knows? He could have a tournament run in the ACC tournament like Kemba Walker had in the NCAA tournament and Big East tournament when they won. Who knows? He could, but right now, I don't see that happening.
Tyler Johnson's still not back. Maybe tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to Mike Burnop about it. At this point, as much time as he's missed with so few games left, how can you get yourself acclimated back into the routine, into the rotation, and kind of be a benefit for this team if you're in particular a kid like that who's missed so much time?
Well, you got to hope that your momentum and your adrenaline takes you there. And you have to play, as we say, as a team, you got to play desperation basketball. As an individual, you got to play desperation basketball. And you got to let the game come to you. A lot of guys will be injured, come back, and then try to force the game. That team, I'm not going to say they're already set, but at the end of the day, you don't need to come in there and try to take over a ball game and be something that you're not, or try to, be a player who wants to do what you can to force the issue. You have to fit into what's already established and then make your way there. And then as the games go on, you'll gradually get better. So he just has to come in and try to be the role player that he can be and try to be a star in the role to fill the minutes that he's going to get. That's all you have to do. If you try to force it, you're going to make things worse. And it's really bad right now for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it is. It is. But like you said, you get a win tonight, you can get that train rolling again, man. And you still have
it'll be a huge win tonight.
Yeah, and you still have Virginia and Carolina on the docket, so you can still make some high quality quad one wins if you can get it done. Yeah, no question.
And if you win those 3 games, you're in. I can firmly say that you are in there.
Yeah, especially after Carolina beat Duke. I mean,
but now it's getting to the point where other teams are seeing Virginia Tech coming up on the schedule, and they're like, we can't lose to them. That's the problem.
It's switched,
it's switched. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, you've talked about Louisville being the best team, and now that they're healthy, they gutted out a win against Wake on Saturday, and then they get home and they just absolutely look like that team you kept saying in the preseason you expected to be the team, man, because they 118 points in a college basketball game is a lot.
Yeah, and I think they score like 1 point per 30 seconds. It's something ridiculous like that. Like a ridiculous stat like that. But Louisville's ceiling is Michael Brown's ceiling. He was hurt. They struggled. And we talked about them in the preseason saying their potential was Final Four, and that's because of him. He's back now, and you talk about it. They scored 118. He scored 44 of that, 45 of that. He's unbelievable as a player. That's why he's going to be a top 10 pick. But they're a team that's going to be dangerous. They got their train rolling at the perfect time right now. They're a team that nobody's going to want to see because their offense is so ridiculously good. They shoot a ton of threes, and they know that. They don't care if it's contested, if it's in transition. They're going to shoot the three, and they're going to knock down threes. They have players that came onto this roster that last year 6 guys shot 40%. So they have guys capable. Louisville is a team that is very dangerous, and it's because Michael Brown is back. That kid can go, and you see it.
Looking at our league in the Big South, after it fell short at High Point, after watching Winthrop twice and High Point twice, I think Winthrop's a better basketball team.
Yes, they are.
I don't think High Point is what everybody thinks they are. They're not going to have their highest paid player any longer after what happened on Saturday. I got a feel that he's done. But what do you think, man, the Big South? I mean, Radford's lost 2 games to Winthrop by a total of 3 points. They've lost 2 games to High Point by 10 or less points. Still anybody's tournament, I think.
Absolutely. And what I love about the Big South is it's a neutral site. You don't have to worry about playing at High Point.
That's right.
You don't have to worry about playing at Winthrop. The best team is going to win on that night. It's simple as that. And High Point was crowned the king of the Big South in July. All right. People were saying, just give them the Big South tournament trophy, the Big South regular season championship. And they haven't done anything. You still have to play the games between the lines at the end of the day. I never understood why folks were that high on them, saying that they could be as good as Will Wade and McNeese State a season ago. I never got that. And now you talk about Winthrop and Coach Prosper, a guy who's been coaching in this league for a while now, and a guy who has paid his dues, and now he's got a center piece of his program who's going to win the Big South Player of the Year, and you can feed him the basketball and have guys surrounded by him and just play the right way. So I love what Winthrop is doing. The only team to beat them so far this season has been Longwood. I had that game, and the way that they did it was they let Logan Duncombe go one-on-one in the post, but out on the perimeter, they made sure to surround those and, put pressure on those three-point shooters. That might be the key. Logan Duncombe finished that game, I think, with 34 and 16 or something ridiculous like that. He got his numbers, but his supporting cast couldn't get anything.
Right.
And twos won't beat you on a consistent clip as threes as they like to shoot. But if there's a team to beat right now, it's definitely the Winthrop Eagles. I love what they're doing right now, and they're playing the best basketball.
Yeah, 10 in a row right now for Coach Prosser's team.
Yeah, man.
Well, and one more thing before we let you go. Radford, because of their guard play, I don't think High Point's guards are very good, and I think Winthrop's guards are very good. That's why I make the differentiation, and that's why I think Radford still, despite all their flaws, and there's a lot of them, because of their guard play, they could potentially, like you said, going 3-game run on a neutral site could very easily happen for this Radford team. They're by no means out of this whole equation, in my opinion.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. And the key for Radford to me is if they can be consistent shooting the 3. If they have an off night in the tournament, that could be something that kills them. But you don't know who the matchups are going to be yet. You don't know which side of the bracket you fall on. And we said it last week, guard play wins in March, and Radford has the guards. And then they got a guy in Dennis Parker Jr. who's leading the league in scoring. He's a player who there's not many people as versatile as he is in this league who can offensive rebound, play with his back to the basket, stretch the defense and shoot the 3, play from the mid post. He's got it all on the offensive end.
Yeah.
And as long as he's efficient, Radford's going to continue to be in every game. I think the only game they got blown out in was Asheville, right?
Yeah,
that wasn't close. Yeah, that was a bad one. But other than that, they've turned the page on what we saw in the non-con, and now in Big South play, they've been as consistent as anyone as far as how they've been able to compete. So I think Radford's a team that's going to be right there in the end, which we expected before the season to start. But it's the usual suspects. It'll be the High Points, the Winthrops, the Radfords, and then nobody's going to want to see UNC Asheville as well.
Yeah, and Longwood will be there too.
Yeah,
I think Longwood's going to be sneaky good in the tournament. So
yeah, Longwood's a team that's like, man, it's a hit or miss. You saw that when they went up to USC Upstate, nobody could see that coming.
Yeah, right.
But they've been so inconsistent. When they're good, they're really good. But when they're not, you can get them, and that's any team in the league can get them.
Before we let you go, Coach almost said, Keon Brown, class act. Did you ever play football? What position would you have played if you did?
I'd never played football, but if I would have played ass back. I would say, Coach, can I get in the game? You say, get your ass back. That's what I would have been. That's what I would have been. Yeah, man.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. I know you got to break away a little early for testing, so I hope that goes well, man. And, we'll reconvene next week.
All right, buddy. Oh, one more thing. I'll be at the game on 28th now, too. So we'll be.
You better be.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
All right, brother.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
All right, later, buddy. All right.
I needed that this morning from KB. That was great. My guy. All right. We'll be right back here. We got Marty and Rags. We got all sorts of stuff going on. Thank you so much for the congrats on 800. Let's get to the next 100. Let's hope we can get over 800 so we don't have somebody, flake out. I'll be right back. Hang on. All right. Ask back. Yeah. So I don't know what's up with chat. TLB, if you're watching, I don't know what happened, man. I wonder if that's what's happened to Opal and who was the other regular we had? Paul Chapman. I wonder if something's going on with chat, but it has an automatic filter in there now because of all of the bots and stuff that show up on live shows. And I don't know if it's getting some people caught up. Some of the regulars caught up. I'm going to have to look at it. So my apologies. Send me a text message if you're still watching and we'll try to fix it. All right. Invite has been sent to Coach Rags and to Marty. No, not my dog. That's the neighbor's dog. But we're getting ready to have Marty and Rags brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. That's coming your way here in just a second. No, not my pup. No. But I'm bugged that chat kind of went haywire. I don't want the loyal, normal peeps to be filtered, and I'm afraid that's what's happened. So I'll have to check it out. Moore says, I'm afraid Virginia Tech men's basketball will want to get their ass back to Blacksburg after tonight. I don't know. The spread's only 8 points. It's one of those games maybe Tech can show up and shoot well early in and put some pressure on Clemson. We'll see. I do think it's a must-win. We'll talk to Mike about it. Mike's going to be joining us from Clemson for the game. He's in his hotel this morning, so we'll talk to him about it and find out what's going on with the team. I'm going to stand by it no matter how many people call me homers. I think Tech's injury situation has really knocked this season sideways. I know everybody wants to jump on Mike Young and criticize and all this, but I'm telling you, being around it as long as I have, college basketball, I know when you lose one or two guys, it's the most difficult thing. And when you lose three like they have, it's at different points. I think it's almost impossible to come back. So hopefully they can get everybody healthy and go on a run in the tournament. That's really their only chance going forward. But you're right, Morris. Time is running out. For Tech to get their act together. There's no doubt. All right, we're going to try to get Coach Rags on here in just a second. And Marty, and we'll rock and roll. May have to send you another invite, Coach, if you're watching. Let me know, and I'll send you another. It did this with Brian, too. That's what's frustrating. I don't know if something's wrong with this studio this morning, of all mornings, by the way. I can't add them to the stream. Yeah, I can't add them to the stream until they get in there. Let me kick him from the studio and send him another invite. Yeah, this thing's being funky this morning. Of course it is, because we have all these guests lined up. Of course. All right, so we'll try that and see how that works. Wayne says ACC is going to be a factor in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, they are. They are. I wouldn't be surprised to see another Final Four run by one of these teams. There's no question. Yeah, you wonder. I wonder about that too, Prometheus. Like, has the will just been drained out because of all the stuff that they've gone through? Don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this camera. There we go. Now we got Coach. Coach Rags is with us right now, as a matter of fact. Let's get him on here. What's up, Coach? Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, it was giving me some weird message there. I don't think it's you. I think it happened with the last guest too. So hopefully Marty won't have any problems. So, how you feeling, man?
Sore. But it's getting a little bit better every day.
So I've never had one. So when did you realize, when did you know you had to have hernia surgery? Did you pull it doing something, or did you just start to feel funky?
No, I really, it wasn't about any kind of pain or feeling or anything. I just noticed that down in my groin area, one side of my lower abdomen seemed to me be distended, a little bit larger than what it normally is. And for a good while, I wondered, well, is that actually the case, or am I just imagining this? You know, maybe it's always been like that and I just didn't notice. But and instead of going ahead to the doctor, I kept putting it off and you know, but finally I said, you know, I need to go get this checked out. And I went to the doctor and was told that, hey, you've got a hernia on that particular side. And so the doctor's office set me up with a surgeon, a general surgeon, Dr. Cutherell, and who's part of Carillion Clinic. And so when I visited him and he checked me out, he said, yeah, you've definitely got a hernia on that side, but I think you may have a hernia on the other side as well. And so it turned out that was the case. And I had what's called bilateral, meaning both sides, hernia repair. And it was done robotically. He
really?
He can do that. And I can't imagine what it was like prior to that. I mean, by that, I mean the pain and soreness and everything like that, because I've got 3 little incisions, each about a half each long, one right above my navel, and then 2 others to either side, you know, to both sides of that. So I've got 3 little incisions across my abdomen, but that's it. It's not like any big, you know, long scar or anything. And I really don't know how it works exactly. Except apparently they, I did not go to YouTube or something like that and watch the procedure prior to me having it, because frankly, I thought it might mess with my brain and I might back out, you know? So I haven't actually watched, you know, what it looks like. But you know, apparently they insert these instruments down in those small incisions, and work by I guess watching some kind of monitor or something. And not every surgeon can do it, I don't think. You know, you got to be specifically trained to do that. But I did read up on it prior to, and it supposedly makes, you know, it's less invasive, and you know, makes it easier to recuperate because it does less damage, you know, internally. So I hate to imagine what it would be like, because of if it weren't that, way of doing it, because man, I was sore as the dickens for about 3 or 4 days, but it's gradually getting better. It makes you realize how much your abdominal muscles deal with everything you do. I don't care what it is, getting up out of a seat, laying down in bed. God, if I got a cough, man, I'd hate to, feel that. But anyway,
there's that guy, by the way, Coach. What's up, Mark Dog? Good morning, brother.
Gentlemen, good morning, Coach. I'm glad to see you're on the mend. It's nice to hear that your surgery was successful. And don't cough, I guess, is the only.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. How you doing, Marty?
I'm great, man. Yeah.
Getting ready to head to Florida, huh?
I'm awesome. Yeah. I just got home from Florida, and I'll be heading right back. I got the Daytona 500 this weekend, and then we're in golf all the way through the Masters, really all the way through the PGA, but I got the Kentucky Derby in there too. So we are running.
What's the best way to describe Daytona, man? You've been there before, but what is that vibe like when you're down there and you're, surrounded?
It's definitely very America.
Yeah.
And that sport has really needed a reboot. It's really needed its leadership to look at the fan base and the people that built it and the foundation culture of it, and try to get back there as well as they can, while also maximizing the corporate side that is so important to the sport. And I give them a lot of credit, man. They have done that in this since last season ended in a big way. There's been a massive paradigm shift in the business model after Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin were successful in the lawsuit against NASCAR. And that settlement ultimately means that NASCAR's version of franchises, which are called charters, which were never permanent to the owners, like, Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones have a permanent franchise that they can sell the assets to maximize the value of what they've built and ushered and shepherded. NASCAR never had that before, and now they do. And so that's a seismic shift in the sport. So there's a lot of momentum going into Daytona. It feels that way every year, but I feel like this year especially. So we're looking forward to getting down there for a couple of days and seeing what's going on. Coach, what'd you think of the Super Bowl, dude?
Boring.
Exactly. It was terrible.
But great defense on both sides. God, New England played tough as the dickens, except for a few plays. And of course, Seattle was just, good God, their defensive line just dominated the offensive line for New England. And poor Drake May, man, he was just running for his life for, and if you think back to last year's Super Bowl, it was the same way with the Chiefs, and so it shows you what probably, the most overlooked thing in my opinion in football from the fan at any level is the offensive line. Man, you have got to have a good offensive line. And I don't care how good your quarterback is, how good your receivers are, your running backs. If you don't have a good offensive line, you're not going to be very good. And, man, that was the difference in the game. Good God, Seattle just destroyed New England's offensive line. They just couldn't stop them. I mean, and a lot of it was scheme, but a lot of it was just mono on mono. Several times the defensive lineman just took the offensive lineman and moved him right back into the quarterback's lap and literally tackled the quarterback with the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And so that, that's what I thought about it.
It was the same on the other side of the ball too, Coach. I mean, when Seattle needed to get critical yards, they were able to line up and run the football right up the middle in the A and B gaps. I mean, just right wherever they wanted with Kenneth Walker. And he is such a physical runner and just refuses to go down. Of course, he won the MVP of the game. And I'm really happy for Sam Darnold. I've known Sam since he was at SC. And I can remember when he was at SC, what a lot of people were noticing was his ability to throw receivers open and really hit tight windows. Well, then you get drafted by the New York Jets, absolute disaster. And all of a sudden you suck. All of a sudden you're a bust. You hop around the league. He came here to Charlotte where I live, which ironically, we had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on the same roster for the Carolina Panthers. And both of them have moved on to other franchises and are playing MVP caliber football. And Sam was just tossed around from team to team. Gets to Minnesota last year, leads them to 14 wins. They cast him off again in favor of J.J. McCarthy, another young man I know well and I believe in, and I think he'll have a good pro career, despite what some people are saying right now. And Sam goes and wins a Super Bowl. And I'm really happy for him because his ability to compartmentalize. He's a Southern California kid. He's not like us people from Appalachia that ride in motion up and down all over them mountains. He does this. Never changes. Yeah. And at that position, that is a very beneficial personality trait. And so I'm really happy for Sam, really happy for Mike McDonald too. Got to know Coach McDonald when he was Harbaugh's defensive coordinator at Michigan. And to be that young and already have a ring, they are just getting started out there in the Pacific Northwest. So really happy for all those guys and bummed for Drake. Drake is from he grew up 3 miles from where I'm sitting and he's an icon here, even at 23. He'll be back.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
You mentioned Darnold's ability to put the ball in tight windows. On that very first drive, he made
ripping.
2 completions.
Ripping.
One where the defensive guy undercut the receiver, and I mean he only had like about a 1 foot window there to put the ball in, or it was going to be picked off. And he stuck it right in there. And then he followed that up a few plays later, throwing like what we used to call a flag route, over top another defender and laid it right in there, about a 30-yard pass. And right on the, opening drive there, he was right on the money. So
it was obvious that they made the decision that we do want to impose our will, but we want to prove to New England, we want to prove to Coach Vrabel that we're going to come out very aggressive here. And you're right. I mean, those couple throws you're referencing, Coach, were an inch from being picked.
Yeah,
it was just incredible accuracy.
It was. Marty Smith.
Marty, you mentioned that. Way back when the Redskins used to go to, just south of Harrisburg, PA, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, for their preseason training camp, And my wife's sister lived in Philadelphia at the time, and Patty, that's my wife, as you know, wanted to go up and visit her. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll take you up there, and you and your mother, and to visit, as long as I get to drive back to Carlisle and watch the Redskins practice one day. Okay. All right. So I drive back to Carlisle to what's the name of the school there? Dickinson College, I think is the name of the school. And they would, it was right before their practice started, their, organized practice. And they were kind of the players were filtering out there. one by one. And at the time, I think Gary Clark from Pulaski was on the squad, and he came out, and they had the quarterbacks were just getting loosened up, and they had like 2 or 3 quarterbacks, I don't know, 30 yards apart, facing each other in a line, and then they had receivers for those quarterbacks, and the receiver would go down it was nothing fancy. They wasn't full speed, but the receiver would run just a fly pattern, and the quarterback would drop back and pass it to him, and then that receiver would go get in the other line with the other group of quarterbacks. So it was a constant just circle, receivers going down and the quarterbacks alternating, who was throwing the ball. It amazed me. I sit there and watch that for about, I don't know how long they did it, 10 minutes until they started their, everybody practice. And the ball never hit the ground, literally never hit the ground. Now, like I said, it wasn't a full speed type of thing, and there was no defense out there, but I mean, it was just one right after another, and they're throwing the ball 30 yards, maybe even 40 yards down the field, and those receivers are just catching it over their shoulder, and the ball never hit the ground. And I thought to myself, God almighty, we could do that, and the ball would never be caught, and it just amazed
What
me.
year are we talking? 87, 88?
I don't recall the exact year. I don't know who we had on our team or anything. I just remember it was obviously a good while ago, because they don't do that stuff anymore. They're all just stay at home and practice, I think, for the most part. And but that just really I've never forgotten that, and it was just so effortless. I mean, just effort. It's just like I would walk up and hand the ball to you. That's how easy it was for those guys to complete those passes.
What you can't one of the things that has amazed me being around college and pro football is the velocity with which the quarterbacks throw it.
Oh,
because television doesn't show you that velocity. And I love being interactive in my reporting and interviewing and whatnot. And so I'll stand there and, just throw the football with Joe Burrow, right? Or Deshaun Watson, or you name it, right?
Yeah.
And they're not even turning it loose, but the velocity that they have, you better be ready, son, or you're gonna take one right in the schnoz and break your face. You're gonna be like, who was it? Was it Ben Stiller or somebody in one of those movies that took? Maybe it was Old School or something. Somebody took one in the face. But so, all right, I've wanted to ask you this for a long time. When you're taking a team into a big playoff game, right, and the conditions are adverse, whether that's cold, whether that's rain, whether that's mud, snow, wind, what is your process as the leader, as the head coach? Because I think about when we beat Hayside down there in the coal fields in a mud bath.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't do it justice. It was a quagmire.
It was.
Go ahead.
How do what's your process of determining, like walking out there and going, okay, well, damn, this sucks. All right. This might slow down our ball handling. This might affect our precision. Defensively, will we be able to keep our feet? What's going through your mind, and what are you communicating to your fellow coaches on the staff in those moments?
Oh, that's a great question.
Well, I think a lot. I can talk about this for a pretty good while. I think
we got time,
which isn't hard for me, but a lot of it goes back to practice.
Yeah, sure it does.
Now the only thing that we would leave, and you know this, the only reason we would leave the field or not go out on the field for a regular practice was what, Marty? You tell me.
Armageddon. The
well,
rapture. Jesus coming back.
Could be Armageddon.
What is that light? You better not practice today.
When would we leave the practice field?
Lightning.
Lightning.
That's it.
Lightning was the one thing
That's all.
that I never fooled with. And if I heard it, not I didn't have to see it. If I heard it, we left the field.
Yeah, we were gone
right now. And because that practice field of ours sits up way up on a hill, and we're like the highest thing around, so I'd get those kids off that field and get myself off of that field. I mean, that's one thing I don't fool around with. But short of that, it could be pouring down rain, it could be snowing, it could be doing whatever it wants to do. We're going out and practice. All right. And we're going to do our thing, and that's it. And that pays dividends for you come game time. And I'm telling you, we played in that Hayside game down there was that's just kind of, if you weren't there, you can't appreciate what it was like. I literally before the game, there was no sideline from about the 30-yard line to the 30-yard line.
There was no field either.
There was no line that marked where the sideline was. And marking, and I remember walking down the sideline, and you got to understand, when you get out in the coal fields, which Hayside's in the coal field, it's just a different place, man. It's a different part of the world. I had a good friend, still is a good friend, who lives right over the mountain from Hayside in what's called Letcher, Kentucky. And I went down there twice to see him. And man, when you cross over the mountain there I don't know where it is, it's out in there somewhere. Well, it's just beyond Abingdon. You go through Abingdon and go up the mountain there. When you cross over and go down on the other side into Kentucky, man, it's like being in a different world out there. Okay. But anyway, I can remember walking down the sideline at Hayside, and I put my foot down, and I could feel the mud running over the sides of my shoes down into my shoes. All right. And it was like a suction, trying to pull your foot back up out of that mess. And, but we did remarkably well that day. And we did get a punt blocked, and I've never won that's probably the only football game that we ever won where we got a punt blocked. And that was one reason I put Coach Kelly, Rusty Kelly, I put him in charge of our kicking game. You're the kicking game, Coach. And that's it. And I just told him that and said, go do it. And so I don't even know what he was doing he did the punt team, he did the punt return team, the kickoff return. But I knew he would do a great job of it. And that settled any kicking issues we had, except for down at Hayside. And man, it was so muddy and pouring down rain that just getting the snap back there was practically impossible, particularly for high school kids, but for any level kids. And as you recall, they blocked a punt on us. They punted it down. We were deep in our territory. We couldn't move the ball. And so we tried to punt it, and they blocked the punt. And so they were right back down on the goal line for a second play, second go round. And we were good enough to keep them out of the end zone. And I remember you making a big play down there, if I'm not mistaken, where they threw the ball and toward the back of the end zone, and you knocked it down. And then Brandon Steele made a really good play down there. High school kid, we played a zone defense, all right.
Yep, sure.
But we had the capability to go man to man if we wanted to. But we never wanted to. Okay.
Because you had guys like me on the back end.
That's the deal, but that day in those conditions, they had the balls. One of those times they had the ball right down on the inside the 10 or inside the 15 or down in there, getting really close. And of course, they passed the ball a lot.
They did.
And we went man to man. Probably the only time we did it all year long. Okay. Now, most high school kids, you'd have half of them, and you see it occasionally in college and the pros, half of them are playing zone and the other half didn't get the message, or if they did, it bounced off, and they're still playing zone. All right. And Hayside tried to sneak their fullback out in the flat to hit him with a pass, and had he caught the pass, he would have scored. Well, that was Brandon Steele's responsibility, was the first back coming out of the backfield to his side, and he was right on it. All right. He wasn't still playing zone. Okay. And he picked that back up coming out of the backfield and batted the pass down, and that stopped their scoring threat right there. I think that was on 4th down, and you may recall that play
very well. And I think that was probably they had a tailback who was, I think, All-State named Blake Hackney, number 27, very good player, and their quarterback I think was Jason Compton. If I'm not mistaken.
That sounds familiar to me.
And they spun it around all over the yard. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, they threw the football a lot, and that was certainly to our benefit that those were the conditions that day. But man, everybody on the defensive side for us was just so locked, really locked, because if they're able to get the ball in space, it's going to be so hard to get them down in those conditions. And so that was just super fun. Of course, I think Maurice Milton scored on 36, maybe 38 on the third play of the game, went about 40 yards.
Well, that was if I recall correctly, and I think I am correct, I'm thinking that was a 4th down play.
I thought it was 3rd. Might have been 4th.
Well, the reason I'm saying that, and I'm sure it may have been 3rd down, but I was one that I was willing to take what I considered to be calculated risk. Okay. And I tried to do things that the opposition didn't expect. Okay. Try to, I don't like to use the word fool, but it surprises them.
Yeah.
It's not the, they're going to do this and that's what we do. They think, they're going to do this, but we do something else. And within reason. And I went for it several times, not just in that game, but a lot of games. I can think of circumstances where 4th and short, right in front of our bench, I would go for it. Some of the times we didn't make it, but the vast majority we did make it, because I've always felt like if you line up and you got a yard, if you got a yard to get a first down, if you can't get it, then you don't deserve to win anyway.
My God, boys, we ought to be able to line up. We ought to be able to tell the damn defense where we're running the football, and we ought to double team their ass out of the stadium and still get the first down.
Yeah, well, that's right. And you got it exactly right. And so anyway, we did run Maurice there. Rayfield was, for all practical purposes, was out. and think about it. He was out the entire playoffs.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
And but we did put him in at the end of that game to throw a pass to Patrick Steele crossing across the middle from about our own, I don't know, 15, 20-yard line. And see right there, that's a calculated risk.
For sure.
It drives me nuts watching games on TV and the team gets a lead, and this happens in the pros all the time. Okay. Oh, we got to protect the lead. All right, we got to run clock. How about going down and scoring another touchdown? Let's do that. Why change what we've been doing? Let's just keep on doing it. So what do? They go into a shell. The defense, the other team's defense has 11 men within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and you try to run the ball. Okay, well, in the pros, obviously that's not going to work. Okay, but they do it and then punt it away. And then what's the defense do? Oh, don't let them get behind you. Whatever you do, keep them in front of you. So, okay, yeah, all right. So keep them in front of you. What do you think somebody like Matthew Stafford can do if you keep them in front of you?
Exactly.
They're going to go down the field in about
chunk
5
yard
plays,
after chunk yard
5
after,
plays, because they're going to complete passes 25 and 30 yards a shot. Like you say, they can just zip it down there. So anyway, I was one that I can think of numerous occasions where third and short, where we would throw a pass. Fourth and short, I mean to say, not just third, but fourth. All right. Third, I'd probably just pound it in there with wedge, but a lot of times, I remember over at Blacksburg one time, we ran a pass down we were on their about 20-yard line, and it was getting late in the game, and we had fourth and I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 yards. We threw a pass over the middle, guys wide open. All right. I remember once against Glenver, we threw a pass. And going back to your original question here, we played Powell Valley at home one year in another pouring down rain. Not as bad as Hayside, because our Hayside practiced on their game field, because there's no place else to practice down there. You got a mountain on one side and a mountain on the other side, and you got one strip of grass, or not grass, but dirt that's between the two mountains, and you got to practice on it and play on it. So by the time you get around to the playoffs, there's nothing there but dirt. All right. But we were playing at home against Powell Valley, and it was pouring down rain, and we came out, and the first play we ran from scrimmage was 32 pass. All right. A pass off of our buck lateral series, where we had to have a good snap. We had to have a good handoff. We had to have a good pitch out.
You with us, Coach?
And then all this is before the pass even occurs. And I wanted to show them, Powell Valley, that, hey, we're not going to run wedge all day long or 44 all day long. Okay. And by the way, we completed the pass for about a 30-yard gain. So I think
this is like 96, probably.
What's that?
It's probably 1996 or so. Thomas Jones.
Well, the second Jones boy, not Thomas,
Julius.
What was he that year? We actually ended up winning that game because, and this is about the only time I ever did this. It was pouring down rain the whole day. I think Julius was a sophomore, and he scored on their first play from scrimmage, kind of like Lunenburg did against us. Okay. He got a pitch out and went down the sideline and scored. But we we found out that we could run 46. Okay. And we could flip flop. We very seldom, we could do it, but I didn't like doing it because I like to stay in right formation, because if you get good at doing something, you got to have repetitions to do it. And if you're cutting those repetitions in half, then you're not getting as many. So we had the option, the capability of flip-flopping, going unbalanced left, strong left, but we never did it. All right, except in this one game, and that was in the playoffs against Powell Valley at home in the pouring down rain, and we found out we could run 46, and that was the only play that we could run and gain yardage. So, and Chris Ratcliffe was the tailback then. And we'd line up right and run 46 to the right, line up left, run 46 to the left, right, left, and we took the ball down the field and scored. And that was one of the few scores. I don't even know if we scored another touchdown all day long. I mean, it was difficult to move the ball. But so I think, going back to your original question, kind of mindset is do something that shows your team, hey, we're not afraid to do it. We're not afraid to throw the ball. I mean, we didn't throw the ball much anyway. But you know, we might come out the very first play from scrimmage and throw a pass out of the backfield action that required more ball handling than anything else, just to show our team as well as the other team, hey, we're not going to live in a cocoon all afternoon. And yeah.
I can't remember if we talked about this or not. Rick, if I've already broached this with Coach in a previous show, just stop me. But you talk about making statements to your team, really, that become statements in the context of the moment for everybody in the stadium. Your own team, the opponent, all the parents and everything. But I remember we were at Grayson County for the Mountain Empire District Championship in 1992. That was Stevie Steele, Matt McGuire, Danny Ratcliffe, their senior year. And we were a damn good football team that year too.
Yeah, we had a good team.
And Rayfield was a sophomore.
Right.
And it was 4th down.
Well, I know what you're going to say.
4th down and 2 on about their 45-yard line or so. And we had the opportunity to play it very, very conservatively. And what I want you to walk me through that moment from your perspective, because I will tell you to this second, for all of us, like, we watch this play a lot. I have this specific play saved on my phone to watch Coach Ragsdale's reaction to what happened on this one football play. Go.
Well, we had 4th and a yard to go. And like you say, it was in the midfield range there somewhere. And the game was for the district championship. And the year before, Grayson County and Grayson was always, they reminded me of Graham a whole lot.
Man, they were
always really physical,
yeah,
you know, and their linebackers, you know, hit hard, and then they were just very physical all the time. And the year before, we had brought Rayfield up to the varsity as a freshman late in the season, and I can remember against them, he went back to pass one time, and they had a really good defensive tackle, and he penetrated and got in there and just threw Rayfield down like a rag doll, man. But Rayfield Milton, he was as tough as they came.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you, we had a whole bunch of hard-nosed kids year in and year out, but we had some hard-nosed tailbacks. Rayfield was one of them. Okay. and I could mention a whole bunch of others. And but so he was a freshman, and he got slung down like a rag doll. He just gets up off the ground like it's a walk in the park and gets back in the huddle. And I remember saying to myself right there, man, we got a good one right here. Okay. Because our tailbacks, as you well know, we would run them sometimes. I remember Nathan Tanner over at Blacksburg one night. He ran the ball 30-some times at tailback. All right. Because our tailback wasn't, yes, he's our version of a quarterback, really, because he does the majority of your passing. And we always look for somebody who could run and pass, like Ray Field, like Nathan Tanner, like Ricky Cook, like Leon King. I could go on. All right, Chris Ratcliffe, so on.
Sean Eves.
All right, Sean Eves. My gosh.
Absolute beast.
Sean Eves. I remember going up at the Graham that year that they just had an outstanding team. And I'll get back to your question.
No, man, just I like stream of consciousness.
We go up to Graham, and they had allowed, like, I don't know, 1 touchdown all year, some kind of unbelievable record. And they ran a split 6 type of front, and they blitzed their linebackers almost every single play. And Sean Eves, and that afternoon, it happened to be pretty warm in December or late November, I guess it was, in Mitchell Stadium. And he ran the ball for, like, I don't know, they'd given up practically no yardage all year long. And he ran for a couple hundred yards in the first half. There was one play, he went off tackle and went about 70 yards. And they called it back for holding.
Of course.
And we ran the same play the next play, and he goes 85 yards. All right. And at halftime, we went into the locker room, and he just went into the shower and laid down on his stomach and just laid there the whole half. I mean, he was exhausted at halftime. And because, well, we were picking up their linebackers and getting them blocked. And so they were out of the picture. And the way they played their defensive ends where they just ran right up the field so we could trap the dickens out of them. And when we ran 44, which is our bread and butter, there wasn't anybody left back there but the halfback against Sean. And we had our 10-man coming across trying to get to that halfback, which a lot of times he did. And
which is a nice transition back to Grayson County and 4th and 2 at the 47.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Grayson County. Okay. So we got 4th and a yard. And I think we were leading at the time, but it was less than a touchdown. If they scored, got the ball and scored, and it was still some time for them to do that. Not a lot of time, but there was still time for them to do that. It was maybe midway the 4th quarter. Well, what do I figure that they're looking for? And we would run this sometimes. We'd run wedge. Wedge is a great play, man. It's kind of our version of the push, which we didn't push from behind. And that's something, by the way, I'd like to see them outlaw. I don't like that lineman coming in pushing, and you got 20-some guys that weigh 300 pounds each in a darn pile. That's used to be illegal. You couldn't, a lineman couldn't come in and push the ball carrier. So anyway, so a lot of situations right there, we'd run wedge, and wedge was a pure wedge. I mean, everybody just folded in, so it was like a plow out in a farm field that just cut a row down through the soil. And you weren't necessarily blocking a man per se, but you were blocking it is like the old flying wedge that they outlawed, by the way, in the early going of football, because people got killed on the defense, and literally. And so that would be a play we would run a lot in short yardage, wedge. Okay, well, this time we didn't run wedge. We ran the same look. The ball went to the fullback, and the fullback started up the middle, but we handed it off to the blocking back, and in turn, he pitched it back to the tailback going around the end with usually one of our best linemen pulling ahead of him as a lead blocker. And Rayfield takes it and goes down the sideline. Prettiest sight I've ever seen. Boom, 50 yards for a score. And I can see Coach Williams right now. We were videoing that from the opposite side of the field.
Yep.
And he was running down the sideline beside Rayfield the whole way. and yeah, so I assume that's the play you're talking about.
He was not one, Rick, we didn't see Coach Ragsdale with this let himself have celebratory moments in game very often. Right? It's all right. We did what we were here to do. On to the next play. Now we have to focus on the kickoff and what we're going to run offensively or what we're going to do schematically defensively right now. But after Rayfield ran that play all the way to the house, whomever was capturing that video for us on the high 8 camcorder across the field,
right, the upper bleachers,
happened to capture Coach Ragsdale. Like look at the crowd and give this fist pump. And for you talk about fit to be tied. When we saw that guy, that just took our passion and conviction and focus to an entirely other plane.
Oh, I bet.
Because all of a sudden you go, oh damn, this means this much to him. This means this game, this moment means this much to him. So by God, don't be the one who screws it up.
Don't mess it up for him.
Hey, Marty, let me insert this. Obviously, and I've said this probably every time we've been on this show together, that I learned so much from my father. Okay, and sitting at his knee watching game film on the dining room wall with Frank Beamer's high school coach Tommy Thompson sitting right beside me and stuff. But I remember this based on what you're saying there. In a ball game, and this is one thing I loved about coaching, particularly football. Football is played in individual segments, each individual segment being a play.
4 to 6 seconds.
Every play there's a whistle, and the play's whistle dead and placed down, and then there's another play and another one. It's different from basketball, which is a flow. You're going up and down the court. Okay. I always felt like coaching football, you had much more control of what was going on than in basketball. Okay. And the one thing I loved about it, among a whole bunch of things, was the cerebral part. All right. Figuring out what you had to do to be successful after you get out on the field. Obviously before you got game planning and all that, but I never ever did one of these things like so many coaches do, where I had a set list of, let's say, 10 plays that we were going to run the very first series. Okay. No, I called plays by what the defense was doing and just by a gut feeling that I had, and that was one of those times right there. Okay, on that particular play, I can and my dad also would say, don't watch the ball carrier. Mm-hmm. Don't be the typical fan watching the game on Saturday or Sunday afternoon and watch only the ball carrier. Now think about it. That's what we all do. That's what we love to do. Absolutely. Is watch the ball. I find myself now, instead of watching the ball, watch the two lines. Mm-hmm. And see what they're doing in there. Okay. And I've noticed one thing I've noticed in the pros lately, this year and maybe last year, is they're pulling more linemen. For a while there, they were doing all this zone blocking, and they still do that to a degree. But now they're also pulling linemen and trapping with them, and perhaps even another lineman or their version of our blocking back, which is an end gone in motion or something leading up into the hole. All right. So don't, when you've got the ball, don't watch your back carrying it. Watch what's going on up front. Okay. And one of the very first things we would do in every ball game was, and I had specific coaches, they were supposed to be watching specific things. What are the linebackers doing? What are the defensive linemen, down linemen doing? What are the ends doing? Okay. And the players as well that did not play defense. Of course, we had a lot of two-way players, but some players, particularly your linemen, because the bigger guys, it's harder for them to play both ways. Now, I never bought into this idea of, you got to have a rest type of thing, particularly for small guys and skill guys. We couldn't afford to have our skill guys sitting over on the bench. All right. We needed them out on the field to play in the secondary and linebackers and places like that. But up front, it's kind of a different situation. So when our offensive line came off the field after the first series, Coach Kelly, who was our line coach and a darn good one, he'd get them together back on the bench and go through, each player. All right, first thing we need to do is figure out where they're lining up against us. All right, and what are they doing? And one thing we could almost always count on was, because of our offense, our single wing offense, that the opposition probably would do something different than what they did week in and week out. I mean, in high school, you can't do this thing of changing your defense every week and that type of thing, I mean, you're lucky if you can run one defense with one coverage and get them to do it correctly.
That's right.
All right. But this thing of doing the Bill Belichick thing where you scout the other team, and this week we doing this and next week it's something else. You can't do that. But a lot of teams would try to do that against us because of our offense was so different. Now, there were two teams that you could count on who didn't do that. Give you a guess. Who were they?
There's Greenway for sure.
No.
Oh.
Well, them probably true. Yeah, you're probably right there. Make it three. All right. Who were the other two?
Who were the other two that did not change their process?
Well, you could kind of count where where their players would be on defense. In other words, you go out there on Monday. Okay, we go out on Monday after we do our exercises to get loosened up, and after we split up into backs and linemen to work on some individual skills. Then we come together, and every Monday we're going to drill our offense live.
Oh, yeah.
Except we won't let the defense tackle our backs. We don't want to get our backs banged up. but everything else was live, and that included blocking, all right, with no dummies. We threw away the dummies after the 5th day of practice, okay, because you had to have the first 5 days and, no full contact. All right. So we threw away the dummies after the first week in practice. And after that, everything was live. And on Mondays during the season, it was going to be an hour of us running our offense live against that defense. And we wanted the best guys we could find over there on defense. Okay. So you go out there on Monday and you say, all right, here's what we expect this coming Friday night. We expect them to be sitting in this type of look right here. And I expect this guy over our right end to be so-and-so. That is their best defensive lineman, because they know we're going to run 44 and they're going to try to stop it. Excuse me. I'm getting indigestion just thinking about it. So we line up and I give them the guy's name. Hey, this is going to be Joe Blow, number 74. And he's going to be right over top our right end. And here's what he's going to do, and then we go from one end of the line to the other. And I tell them to my best, ability, who I thought would be where on their defense. And we would give our players, as you recall, later on in the week, a printout of the other team's defense and each player's name and number and weight. And you had to take that home and learn it, and then we would test you on it before the game. Because I wanted you to be familiar.
That also applied to the defense, just for the record.
Yeah, exactly. And because I wanted you to be familiar with what you were going to face, hopefully. All right. But and most teams would change their defense. And I knew that, but I would give it my best estimate as to what I thought they would do. Might be right, might be wrong. But there were a couple teams.
Who was it? Blacksburg?
Blacksburg was one.
That's what Chat said. Yeah. Chat said
Blacksburg, not Christiansburg.
Radford.
Oh, Radford.
Radford. Now, why
the wretched
Blacksburg
Bobcats?
and Radford? Why those two?
Because they go all the way back to the New River District? I don't know.
Because of their coaches.
Yeah. Coach Lindenberg and Coach Christ.
Dave Christ had coached for a long time at Blacksburg. And we had seen, the further on we went into things, the more I realized, hey, Coach Christ isn't going to change a whole lot. And his defensive coach, oh, gosh, I can see him now. I can't recall his name.
Phipps.
Who?
Coach Phipps.
Yeah. And Dave Brown before him, who used to coach against my father's team going way back.
That's right.
You could count on Blacksburg because we learned over a period of time, hey, they're going to be playing their defense, and they may tweak it a little bit, but not much. They're going to be sitting in there because they believed in what they were doing. And they said, hey, we're going to stop you in doing our defense. We don't have to do anything different to stop you. Okay. All right. And Radford was the other one. Why? Because Coach Lindenberg had been over at Radford forever, and his defense was always good, and they were always successful, for the most part, year in and year out, had a good football team with a tough defense. So those were the two teams, along with Narrows to some extent, that we could count on. Well, Narrows started running a 5-3 defense at some point that came from Rick Franklin being an assistant coach or a JV coach or something down at Salem. Okay. And Salem ran a 5-3. So he was the assistant down at Nares and in charge of the defense. So he started running a 5-3. So toward the middle to the end of my career, we could count on Nares being in there in a 5-3 defense. But everybody else, you just didn't know. And Covington came down here one year. Covington. And man, they had some really, really good football teams. This was in the early 80s. And they came down and they played what's called a gap 8. It's not just an 8-man front. I mean, it's a 8-man front. They got 8 defenders on the line of scrimmage and only 3 defenders behind.
They're begging you to throw the football. And
we weren't ready for it. Okay. And so they had at least one defender every play we ran who was free, who was unblocked. All right. So we went in at halftime. We were down like, I don't know, 2 or 3 touchdowns at halftime. And we had a good team that year too. But we weren't getting the block because we hadn't worked against it, because I didn't expect it. All right. So, and didn't ever expect that. 8 men just rushing as hard as they can come, And so we went in at halftime and we called off all our double teams. No double teams. All right. It's just everybody blocked down. And man, the second half, we went to town. I think they were ahead 21-0 at halftime. And we came back and won the football game, because once we got that straightened out and they didn't have guys running free, if everybody made their block, there wasn't anybody left. There's 3 guys back there and that's it. And because they had no linebackers. And so we went to town after that. So what was your original question? Something about the defense? What'd you ask?
I don't even know.
Hey, guys, I sent you both. David Mabry sent me highlights from your game against Hayside.
Oh, did he? Really?
I got the video of the game, and you both have it now.
Oh, that's awesome.
My God.
And I can't believe the condition of that field. You guys were describing it. I'm sitting here watching some of the plays. Giles turned black jerseys immediately. It's crazy. Marty, you're on that field somewhere, man.
Yeah, we were wearing white. A little story on that. They had just, I mean, it was pouring down rain. You can see the middle of that field from practically hash mark to hash mark is just, look at that. I mean, it was a literal quagmire.
And that doesn't even like that.
No.
You're not seeing the fact that it never stopped raining.
It's just mud.
Yeah, but prior to the game, okay, and this kind of goes back to an earlier question of yours, Marty. I was kind of hardcore and that type of thing, but I also had somewhat of a brain, and I tried to say things, right prior to the game that would help our team out and the individual player. And it might be something funny. As a matter of fact, I can remember, I don't know if this was one of the years you were playing, Chris Fields.
Oh, he was my team. We graduated together.
So okay. Yeah, Chris was our nose guard.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
He was a
and he was always the kids loved him. I loved him. He was funny and about half crazy. He was a tough nut in there. He was a tough nut at nose guard.
Giving him credit on the half part.
And the way we played our nose guard, we slanted him one way or the other. And Chris could handle that, man. He'd line up in there over that center. He'd slant right and slant left. Well, okay, so we're getting ready to go out and play Lunenburg for the state championship. And I overheard Fields telling, and I loved Chris, and he I overheard him say to somebody in the locker room as you all were getting dressed, I heard him say, "Yeah, Ragsdale doesn't look like he did back then." Okay. Now here's what he was referring to. All right. The night before the game on I guess it would be Channel 7.
Definitely DBJ.
Friday Football
sure.
Extra. But at that time, I don't know if there was I guess there was at that time a Friday Football Extra.
Hell yes. It was the greatest show in the history of TV.
Yeah. So the night before, Channel 7 Sports had run a little clip of Roy Stanley, who's another guy I love. Roy was great.
Was amazing. My mom graduated high school with him from Whitfield.
Oh, is that right? And yeah, he went to George Wythe down in Whitfield. Okay. And Roy was interviewing me after we beat Parkview Sterling for the state championship. He was covering the game, and he was interviewing me after the game in one of those little classrooms right there beside the gym. Okay. And so I guess Fields had seen that interview on TV.
And you're what? In 1980,
and he was right. Like I didn't look like I did back then.
That looks different.
And the reason I didn't look like I did back then was because I'd been coaching guys like him for like 10 or 15 years.
No way you could look like that.
And look at me now, man.
Oh, that's great.
So I heard Chris say that in the locker room while we're getting dressed. So we go over, as we always did, we go over before the game, and I'd have the players lay down in the floor over in the ag shop. All right. And that goes back to my dad. He used to have his teams. His last 3 years, they were undefeated at Narrows. And they had like a 30-some game winning streak that went back to 1959 through 62. Okay, and he would have his players go in the old gym, what's now the old gym down at Narrows, and lay down in the floor, and he didn't want to hear a peep out of them, and that type of thing, because he wanted them to get their mind focused in on the game. And so I picked this up from him. That's what we did before every game, home or away. You find a spot that's quiet. You can lay down there, but I don't want to hear anything out of you. And I darn sure don't want to see something stuck in your ears where you're listening to music. I didn't like that. Okay. Because here's why I didn't like that. And I'll get back to Chris Fields. And you remember, Marty, where we're at. Okay. I didn't like, hey, football is a game of aggression. All right. It's not, there's no other game like it. And do you think that when our soldiers in the 29th Infantry Division and the 1st Infantry Division, when those guys hit the beach in Normandy, when they hit Omaha Beach and that front thing went down on those landing craft, do you think they were listening to the radio or whatever? No,
I
they
do not.
weren't.
I do not.
They knew it was going to be rough sledding. All right. And so that's the way I viewed the ball game coming up. Man, this ain't no picnic we're going to.
It was not.
It's not a dance where you're going to snuggle up to your girlfriend. You know, they're going to be hitting back.
I love it, all of you guys. I love that everybody
you better
watching.
get ready. You better get ready for a fight.
Is getting what we got every day.
This ain't going to be no picnic. All right. Now, if we win, then I'll get up in the aisle and dance with you on the bus ride home. Okay.
I don't remember any of that dancing.
So
right.
none of that. All right. So, but then, okay. So after we've laid, you've laid there for a little while, 10, 15 minutes, I'd gather y'all together and I'd always say a little something. Well, this was right before the Lunenburg game, state championship. And if you're not careful, you can get too uptight for something like that. And I think I've already said this on this show. I didn't like kids. I said this to our girls volleyball team just this past fall. They invited me to speak to them before their state championship game. And I told them I never wanted a team going into a game to be uptight. You know, you'll hear an announcer say, well, you know, it takes them a while to get the whatever, you know, out of their system and get down to playing. I didn't want a team that was uptight, you know, type of thing. I wanted a team that was ready, that was looking forward to getting out there and going after the other guys. All right.
Those aren't mutually exclusive.
Afraid. I didn't want them. My point was you can't play if you're afraid of losing.
That's true.
You can't play afraid that you're going to lose. And I would catch myself from time to time thinking in the week prior to the game, I would catch myself thinking, oh God, I hope we don't lose this game. And I said, man, you're falling into the darn trap that you don't want your players falling into. Right. And I immediately would change my mindset, you know, and specialty guys like field goal kickers. You can't have a field goal kicker that's thinking, you know, you got the ball and you're driving down the field for the winning score, and they'd rather see you score a touchdown than them have to go out and try a field goal. You want a darn field goal kicker that's thinking, I hope they don't make it. I hope we don't make it in 3 downs so I can go out and kick the winning field goal and I'll be the hero. That's the mindset you want. All right. So how in the world did I get off on this? Oh, okay. So I didn't want you all being uptight going out to the game, you know, to play against Lunenburg. The old, oh, I hope we can win. Oh, I hope I don't make a mistake. I hope that guy doesn't get behind me and burn me for a pass. You know, that type of feeling.
I can tell you there was a lot.
I wanted one going thinking, I'm gonna knock the snot out of somebody, and I'm gonna do it every play. Okay, so, but you can't do that if you're uptight. So I wanted to break the tension, if there was any, prior to the game. And I knew how the kids felt about old Fields. But what I wanted to say, I always looked for something in the newspaper or something like that I could use to tell the team. But I never just explicitly lied, you know, just made up a lie, because I figured I'd be too transparent and they would read me like a book, which kids do. And so I wanted it to be something true, and then I may embellish it a little bit or something like that. But on that day, I felt like, hey, let's get them, make sure they're loose. Let's make sure they're feeling good about themselves, you know, and ready to go. All right. So I said, yeah, I was out in the locker room. I'm saying this to the team now. Fields is sitting right down there in front of me. And I said, yeah, I was out in the locker room before the game while you all were getting dressed. And I overheard Fields there. And of course, that got their attention right off the bat. Yeah, I heard Fields there say, and by the way, he was referring to me. He don't look like he used to on TV. And old Fields looked up at me, and I think he probably urinated in his pants.
He hurt me.
But the other kids just loved it, man. They just loved it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I think we went out in the right frame of mind there to play that game. And so
I don't think those things are mutually. I wish I remembered that. I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
Pregame speech.
I remember that. I'll probably never forget that. There's a lot of things I am forgetting, but that's not one of them. And you know, Marty,
I was probably blacked out, worried. Honest to God, when we were in those quiet moments, and I will tell you, anybody that played for you, those moments are very precious to us now, because they were moments of solitude that, you know what they did? At least for me, I can speak for me, and I can speak for a couple of other very close friends of mine with whom I played. those moments of quiet crystallized the responsibility that you had for your brothers. That's what they did for me. They were this very personal reminder to do your job. And it's funny because what's normal now is what you're talking about. You got the headphones in, kids are listening to Drake and Kendrick Lamar or Morgan Wallen or whatever they're listening to now. And they really are kind of in their own headspace that can be one of distraction. And for us being quiet in there, now I'm going to tell you, this ain't no lie, dude. I don't know how everybody else was. We haven't, I talked to my buddies I grew up with about our experience playing for you damn near every day. I was so puckered up before every football game because of the understanding that, yeah, I know we're ready to play, and I know that we have a very good team and a very good plan. But God, we'd run out there, and still don't know why you did this. Coach Ragsdale, Rick, always introduced the defense. The defense would run out to the 50-yard line before the game.
Right.
Mr. Harold Chafin introduced the defense, not the offense, the defense. And so we're running out there, and you can't help but kind of glance up to your right and see the entire damn county. And so you go, man, that is okay. It's a great reminder of what I'm playing for, but don't bleep it up, Jack.
I know.
Hey,
greatest thing ever. It is.
There's a couple of things that come to my mind on that. One of the things I loved about coaching, I really loved it, and I miss it to this day. Now, there's things that I don't miss, but some of one thing I really miss is having our team just circled around me or semi-circled around me, be it practice, the end of practice, or right before going out on the field on game night or whatever. And I'm talking to the team as a whole. And I'm imparting my thoughts to the team. I used to love that. And I would do what I did was I'd start out the week without too much, about, I don't know, trying to get the team ready to play because, you don't want to get them ready early. So, but I tried to make it a building process, every day, make it a little bit more intense as you go along. And then on Thursday afternoon, you'd say the winning thing to them, supposedly. But that's one thing I loved about coaching, having those players around me, and I'm talking to them. In fact, I can remember talking to you all on a Thursday, down under the goalpost, away from the concession stand end, last thing on a Thursday, and we were getting ready to play the first game of the playoffs, and we knew that Rayfield was going to be unavailable, and I wanted to address that. I didn't want to, sugarcoat it or anything like that. But I remember telling you all, hey, Rayfield's not going to be playing. But here's the deal. Okay? One guy can carry the ball. That leaves we got 10 guys. You 10 are going to whip 10 of theirs. All right? That leaves one guy. And the ball carrier is going to beat him anyway. So there you go. That's what you got to do. You go out and you whip that guy that you're blocking, and we'll be just fine. And we were. Now, the other thing that I miss.
We won 33-0, I think.
Yeah. The other thing I miss is calling plays. I always loved, and that goes back to sitting there watching film with my dad. I loved calling plays, and I just called them by the gut, basically, and what the defense was doing. I think I forgot. Coach Kelly would, as soon as the first series was over, he'd get that offensive line over on the sideline, and he'd find out what they were doing defensively. And then he would come up to me, and he would have it all down on his pad, and he would show me, all right, this is what they're doing. This is number so-and-so, and this is number so-and-so. This is where they're lining up, etc. All right. And then from there, we'd go to work as to what we were going to, try to do. So I never had a preset plan, and the offense evolved, as you went through the game, depending on where we're having success and what they're doing and what kind of adjustments they're making. And then I was trying to find something that would work against them. And we might call something I remember we were over at Floyd one night playing in a big game toward the end of the season. And we had a play called it was a buck lateral series. It was 35, where the wingback ran a little reverse off of that buck action. But you got a lot of ball handling there. We hadn't run that play all season long. And this was the 9th game of the season, maybe even the 10th game of the season. And it was between us and Floyd who was going to win the district championship. We had the ball. The clock is running down, and I'm thinking about what to call. And I called that reverse play, 35 out of the buck lateral set up in the backfield. I don't think we'd run it all year long, but I didn't hesitate to run it because I felt like it would catch them by surprise, and it did. We went bang. The wing back, before they knew where the ball was, the wing back was in their secondary. And that goes back to another thing. I never wore, if you look at pictures, I've got a picture upstairs right now that it was probably Sherry Kelly took the picture of our sideline one of the last years that I was coaching. And it's got all the, and it's during the game. And this was back at up at Hayside. All right. Not this game we've been talking about. This game, the field was in good shape and everything. It wasn't raining. But it was, we had to beat them to go to the state finals. So we're up there playing again. And all the coaches are are kind of around me in one way or another doing something. And we're out playing on the field. Okay, it's during the game, and I'm standing there, and I got Jeff Williams over here and Coach Kelly over there, and so on, Coach Ellison, Brian Strader, and I'm standing there with my arms crossed in front of me, like I'd be standing out, at the park, watching the birds fly around or something. I was standing there with my arms crossed. And it's kind of surprising to me looking at that. I'll look at that occasionally and think, God, was I standing like that on the sideline, And the answer is yes, because I'm thinking. And as a coach, you can't get all fired up that you forget to think, and you got to think. And going back to what I said about my dad, when you got the ball, you don't watch the ball carrier. Watch what's going on up front. That dictates what you're going to do. And and I loved calling those plays, man. calling those plays, because that was, to me, that was just like artwork. You know, you run one play, and then, of course, our offense was set up to you've got a counter to everything, you know.
You can still be doing it, Coach.
I just love it.
Right? You can still be doing it. Yeah. Feels like it. So, dog, when you leaving for Daytona, man? When you heading out?
Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Yep.
By the way, I know situation with Greg Biffle's passing. I know it affects you. Are they going to do I'm sure they're going to do something pretty special, I would hope.
Yeah, and it's also the 25th anniversary of Dale Earnhardt's death in turn 4 of the last lap of the 2001 Daytona 500.
Wow.
And so there will be some solemn moments certainly down there as well. And, you know, Greg, his wife Christina, their spirit for other people, their incredible giving hearts, their willingness to use the resources that Greg accrued through a incredible career. I mean, he's on the Hall of Fame ballot right now. Their willingness to do for others is really something. His work during Helene 15 months ago, when that hurricane came through here and just decimated Western North Carolina, and Greg used his own aviation. He used his own helicopter to deliver load after load after load of supplies to people who couldn't get in or out because the roads were washed away. He delivered Starlink internet units so that people could have correspondence with their loved ones. Just a remarkable heart. And they are missed, man. I went to Greg, Lainey and I went to Greg's funeral recently, and it was a great remembrance of the 7 people lost on that airplane. And so certainly still, you can't even imagine it. Like, you can't believe it. But yeah, he will be well remembered at Daytona for sure.
Good.
And as will Big E. I can't believe it's been 25 years.
I know.
I was there that day. And so you just can't believe that much time's passed. And his influence, though, listen now, he was such a titan.
Yeah.
That legacy, you still feel it every day in every corner of that sport. And it is a legacy that will never die.
No, never. Well, Coach, listen, I'm getting all these text messages. People just love, trust me, man, people love hearing you. Your mind and the way it's working, like putting us there at Hayside. When I got the video, I'm sitting there imagining when you guys were describing, and then I get the video, go, well, yeah, I was already there because of the way you were describing it, man. We appreciate it so much. It's good
Have
stuff.
you got time for one more Hayside story?
Sure. Yeah. Always.
All right.
Always.
Well, this kind of goes back to kind of similar to the Chris Fields story. I wanted, before the game, it was pouring down rain out there, and I wanted to say something to get the team kind of, not uptight. I wanted them ready to play. Well, they had, Hayside had just built this locker room for the visiting team. Okay.
That's a lot of credit, man. Locker room is not what it was at all.
Well, anyway, it was where we dressed. Okay. And it was newly painted. You could tell they put there was a fresh coat of paint on it. But so, okay, right before we go out on the field, I tell the team, I said, all right, boys, if we win this football game, here's what we're going to do. Game's over. We're going to go down and line up on the goal line, and we're going to take a good run and dive head first into the mud, all of us. And I'm going to join you. Okay. And I'm sure they're sitting there thinking, yeah, right. You're going to join us. All right. So we play the game, and there was only one score that day, and that was the touchdown we talked about by Maurice Milton, and that was on our very first possession of the ball. Okay, and he broke one, went about 50 yards for a touchdown, and that was it. And I think we made the 2-point conversion, and then that was it. Nobody scored the rest of the day. All right. So we win the game. The team heads down to the goal line. I head down to the goal line. And we take a run and just dive head first into that mud.
Yeah.
And when we left, and it wasn't like we were trying to tear their locker room up, but when we left that locker room that day, there was mud everywhere. It was on the walls, on the ceiling, on the whatever was in there had mud on it. And I'm sure they thought, well, God, those people from Giles, they got no truth at all.
And they had no shower.
Game and then tear
you couldn't shower?
There wasn't any shower. There was a sink.
Oh, they had showers, man.
Coach, there was not a shower in there. There was no shower. There was a sink that dripped like.
But anyway, man, it was just, and we couldn't help it. I mean, we had an X number of guys, and every one of them was covered in mud from his toes to his eyeballs.
And it was awesome. It was
fabulous. And in the process of getting undressed and redressed, there was mud everywhere.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, Mark Dog, safe travels, brother, to Daytona. We'll be watching.
Thank you, guys. That's so fun. I appreciate it. And
awesome.
Coach, I love you. Thank you for everything you've done for all of us all these years. And I can't wait to do this again.
I know, man. It's great.
I love doing this and reminiscing and everything like that. It's a lot of fun. And you guys are just great to talk with at the same time.
Well, thanks, man.
I mean, it
you
flows
make it easy.
really well.
Yeah.
From one to the other.
Next time I'll have to tell you about my interception against Hayside, Rick, because that they threw a pass like late in the game. They started throwing it around a little bit, and they throw a pass to big number 80. I don't remember his name, but they had a really tall, talented wide receiver, and they throw it to him, and it was so slick. It hit off of his hands and popped up in the air or whatever, and happened to fall into my hands. And I was sitting there on my butt, and I would not give the referee the football. I was just holding like Charlie Brown or something. I would not let go of the football. But anyway, appreciate it, boys. Love y'all. Thank you.
Enjoy it, man. Rick,
Love you, man.
Thanks a lot. Marty,
Thanks.
Have fun at Daytona.
You will, Coach. Take care, brother. We'll be in touch about next month, man.
Okay.
And very, very glad everything went okay with your surgery, man. That's
okay.
Awesome.
Thanks a whole lot. I appreciate it.
Take care. There you go. Coach Ragsdale. That's great. Fun stuff, man. Mike Burnip will join us, I believe, tomorrow. We're going to work it all out. Thanks, everybody. That was great. Marty's right. This is a special time. I hope everybody appreciates it. To have Coach still with us, and he just puts you right there. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And thanks to everybody in chat. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on with chat a little later on today, but something screwed up today. And it may be what's going on with a few other people too. But in any event, thanks to everybody. Take care. And we'll be back tomorrow on the Thursday edition. Thanks to Marty and Rags and Keon Brown. Thanks to Brian White. Thanks to Coach Elmo. Thanks to all those folks. Great stuff. And be sure to check out Brian's book. The locker room is not for sale. We're going to have them back on, talk more about that, where we can have Coach Elmo and Brian on for about an hour and just talk about the relationship and everything else. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow on Thursday edition.